Forced to work from home by your employer? Laid off or feeling depressed at home? Do you want to make money working from anywhere? We'll show you how to do it from your couch. It's time for another episode of the Work From Home Show. Coming to you from their homes in Austin, Texas and Tampa, Florida, here are your hosts, Adam and Naresh.
Hello, homies, and welcome to the Work From Home podcast. I'm your host, co-host, Naresh Vissa, along with my other co-host, Adam Schroeder.
Hence the co-part.
And I'm coming to you from Tampa, Florida, from my home. And Adam, where are you coming to us from?
I'm just hanging out in Austin, Texas, not going to South by Southwest.
And you're also at your home, right?
Yep, hanging out in my home office, just put the kids to bed, living the good life.
Yeah, and we're actually recording. It's a Friday night. That's when the recording is being done, Friday, March 13th. And Adam, this is our inaugural episode of the Work From Home show. How about, let's tell the listeners a little bit about why we started this show and what the genesis was and how quickly we did it.
Well, the coronavirus is all the rage right now. Everybody's afraid of it, or at least, leery of it, because who wouldn't be? It's a lot going on. We don't really know how to solve it or anything like that. And so a lot of people are getting told, hey, don't come to work. And when you get told, hey, don't come to work, you got to figure out what you're going to do. And you got to figure out how you're going to work from home, or if you're not working from home, if you're just staying at home, you got to figure out how to make some money. So, hey, we figured we'd make a show and tell you how we've done it so you can do it too.
And really, this first episode is kind of going to be all about who am I? Who is this crazy guy talking to you about working from home? Who is Adam? How do we know each other? And so, we want to answer all those questions and just kind of establish who we are, what we do, why we're qualified to talk about this, why we're qualified to even have a podcast and get up and running. So again, my full name is Naresh Vissa. My background is I run a company called Christian Media and Marketing. It's a digital marketing agency. We do pretty much everything online and digital related. And I started the company from home when I was living in not the ghetto, but close to the ghetto of Baltimore, Maryland. I started the company about 7 years ago, and we do, you name it. We do online marketing, digital marketing, design, web development, logos design, podcast production. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Book publishing. Just visit our website, chrismediamarketing.com, and you can see all the services that we do. And we're actually going to go over all of those services at some point during this season of the podcast, because they're all services that you can learn and offer and do it from your home. And like I said, I've been working from home for the past 7 years with my company, Christian Media and Marketing. But I've actually been working from home even longer than that, because and this goes into how I know Adam, I actually started working from my dorm room when I was a college student. I was producing AM/FM radio shows way back before podcasts.
Was that the Wall Street Shuffle?
That was, no, it was even before the Wall Street Shuffle. It was Wall Street meets Main Street.
Oh, yeah, Verusian and
Jack.
No, not Verusian.
Jack
Workenthien and Bot. That's right. Yeah.
Yep. and so I was actually, the way Adam and I met, I was Adam's intern that was 12 years ago. I was Adam's intern, and that was my first foray into radio and media, financial media. And after Adam can talk a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit about that internship, because that's where our 12-year relationship started.
Yeah, so this was in Houston back when you were still in high school, right? What were you, probably a junior?
No, I was in college.
You
was
were in
a
college
summer
then?
Internship. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. You came in for the summer. Yeah. So yeah, we were in a little office. It couldn't have been more than maybe 8 by 10, 8 by 12.
Yeah, it was three of
total.
us in there.
And there were three of us in there, and our buddy Kenny was there, and one day they just threw this intern at us and said, "Here you go, figure out what he needs to do." And yeah, we just started working. At the time, I was editing a bunch of audio, doing show promos, doing event planning, all that stuff. And so we just kind of gave you the stuff we didn't want to do, honestly.
And I was that intern. I was that young intern who was like loving everything. I loved audio editing. I loved moving boxes. I remember you had me move a bunch of boxes.
Hey, we were the best dressed movers in town, man.
Oh yeah, and there was the company, the radio station had a car, like a corporate shuttle, like a van. So I remember I was driving that van around, going grocery shopping, and I loved it.
Yeah, that was an interesting time, interesting place, but it did a lot of good. I mean, you were my intern, you said 12 years ago, and we've been working together since then. Definitely the most profitable intern I ever came across. We had a couple other ones, and never worked with them, made a dime with them. So yeah,
yeah, and we'll talk about that again. I mean, just a lot of topics to discuss about working from home because yes, I was Adam's intern, and he says I was the most profitable intern he had because 12 years later, we've hired Adam to do. We started out just kind of giving him projects. Even me personally hired him to do my first website. And then he became a contractor to Krish Media and Marketing and is now our main web developer and designer for Krish Media and Marketing. And then through one of our clients, a real estate company called Platinum Properties run by real estate guru Jason Hartman, Adam started doing more for that client and editing their podcasts. And now he's entered the real estate investment career, as have I, and we're doing that together. So yeah, it's been very profitable for you, Adam. You should. Wow, that's actually I never even thought about how interns can be so profitable for people.
Yeah, because so back then I was working, like I said, at the radio station, and then the radio station pretty much shut down. It was failing. It was someday we'll have to go into that story, but that's not for today. And it was failing, and all the employees were getting fired. Once I was let go, there were 2 employees left. And I think they were let go about 3 months later when it finally went dead. And I had a kid coming, and I knew I never wanted to work in an office again. I never wanted to have like a real boss again. I knew that, when you're working freelance, you're going to have your boss as your client. But I didn't really ever want to have a big boss man again. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to stay at home, be a stay-at-home dad. But I can't just do that because it's not enough. So I started working from home. That was actually right now, that was 10 years ago this week, or this month at least. I think it might have been this week. And so I've been working from home since then. I didn't make a ton of money to start because, I was just going out and I was using the people I knew and saying, hey, do you need this? Do you need that? But,
and you're also saving on babysitting expenses.
Yeah, was saving. I tell you what, man, the kid wasn't born yet when I got let go, but I knew that I wanted to work, and I knew that we were moving right then. That at the same month we were moving, and I knew that I needed to get my office set up. I got us packed, moved, and unpacked in a week, and that was the best move I've ever had. Because I need everything set up so I can get to work before this kid comes, and yeah, just been making it work for a decade now. It's really nice to wake up in the morning and not have to go anywhere.
Well, you said a couple of things. First off, that radio station, it got shut down because it was a huge Ponzi scheme, and we'll get into that in the future at some point. But the other thing is, you said that you're a stay-at-home dad, and I'm actually a brand new stay-at-home dad as well. So I am running my businesses, but we're both stay-at-home dads, which is kind of rare. I mean, I don't think there's another podcast out with 2 co-hosts who are stay-at-home dads.
Yeah, so we're a pretty small group of people to begin with.
Exactly. And but despite being stay-at-home dads, or I was a stay-at-home husband, we still have careers. And so we're going to talk about that some more on this podcast as we move forward in the season. And you bring up, you kind of talked about how you ended up at home. And in my case, I told you I actually turned from an intern in your tiny little office to a work from dorm, like independent contractor. And that's how I got started, so to speak, working from home. I was still in college and I was still being paid by various clients. After that radio station shut down, I then moved on to a CNN radio affiliate in Dallas, Fort Worth, and then went from producing one radio show to 3 radio shows. And then that got sold to Clear Channel Communications. So I became a contractor to Clear Channel Communications. And then this is all while I was still in school, work from dorm type of thing. So while I was in school, though, I was studying and working hard and trying to do well in school, and ended up learning about the financial industry, worked on Wall Street for a little bit, went to graduate school. And throughout this process, I was still producing these shows. I went to graduate school at Duke University, undergraduate, studied finance, accounting, and broadcast and digital journalism. Went to business school for an accelerated MBA program at Duke University, and started working after graduating at probably the largest financial marketing, financial publishing company in the world, Agora Publishing and Stansberry Research, to launch their online radio network, their podcasting division.
Did you have to go into the office for that job?
And so all the contractor things the clients, working with clients, I was work from dorm. For the Stansberry Agora job, they were actually a client first. So I was in school and I was flying back and forth between Baltimore and Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. And then after I graduated, I moved up to Baltimore and started going into the office. Now, it wasn't
like
mandatory. Yeah, well, it was actually pretty cool because I lived walking distance from the office. It was like two blocks away. And so I could just go in and out whenever I wanted. I could eat lunch at home. And I was a director. I was the youngest director in the company's history. So I had a lot of kind of freedom and autonomy, and people who like listened to me and would do whatever I said. That kind of spoiled me, and that actually kind of helped me in starting a business from home, because I thought I was a and I just assumed that everyone's going to listen to me. But anyway, I started this online podcasting network, which became very popular, called the Stansberry Radio Network. We ended up recruiting folks like James Altucher to the network, and he ended up growing a franchise. And many of you listeners have probably heard of James Altucher. But why do I say all this? I say this because I started working from dorm and then working from home even while I was working full time. Every once in a while, they would just let me work from home. And then when I went out on my own fully 7 years ago, so you said 10 years ago was kind of your anniversary when you made that transition. For me, it was actually March of 2013. So I've reached 7 years. I started Krish Media and Marketing from the condo I was living in downtown, midtown Baltimore. I remember going leaving the company, and I was on my couch, and people were calling me, and they were like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to start a business from my couch. Like, I'm going to sit here and get in front of my computer, and I'm going to make money. And they thought I was crazy. They were just like, okay, like, what the hell's gotten into you? Good luck,
Call me when you need a job reference, whenever you're ready to move into the office.
And so 7 years later, Krish Media and Marketing is a great lifestyle business. It's gotten me involved in other ventures like real estate investing and others, kind of startup, kind of smaller private equity deals. And yes, I did get in front of my computer sitting on the couch, and I was able to pick up clients and do quite well. And still, Krish Media and Marketing is doing better than it's ever been doing. So this podcast is going to go over a lot of those principles, those strategies, our experiences on how we got to where we are today, really doing it all from home. So, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I think to wrap it up, I want to answer or tell the listeners why we started the podcast. and really the story behind it, because it's not just coronavirus. So really what happened, I mean, Adam and I, we told you we've known each other for 12 years now, and we've been working together on podcasting, on online and digital marketing, digital media. And we've always talked about doing something together, but we never did it. And my friend who works for the NBA, the National Basketball Association, as well as a couple of my friends who work on Wall Street, they all called me. They didn't even text me. They called me.
Who calls?
Yeah, who calls? They called me. And I guess people in New York, that's what they do. They call because they don't work from home. They work in offices, and in offices you have to call people. But they called me, and my buddy at the NBA told me he's like a middle level executive. He's not like a senior executive, like working directly under the commissioner Adam Silver or anything. But he's does pretty well for the National Basketball Association, the NBA. And he said, look, Naresh, the NBA just suspended its season, and they've asked all of us in the New York office to start working from home on Monday. And he said, I've never worked from home before. I've been working for 11 years now, and I've never worked from home. And I don't know what to do. Like, I've always gone to an office. I've always gone to a desk. I've always had a boss, over my shoulder. And this is going to be a huge transition, not just for me, but for my team that I manage, the people who I work with at the NBA, and everybody in New York City. Because in New York City, they have those big, tall office buildings. And because people are going into work in those buildings. And now all of a sudden, the mayor has called it, I don't know if he declared it a state of emergency, but he said it is an emergency. And he's telling people to stay away from the subways, stay away from crowded places, stay away from office buildings. And so my buddy called me, and my friends on Wall Street called me, and they said, look, you need to come out with a podcast. If there's one guy who I can call right now and say, hey, you need to start a podcast, and he can start a podcast within 3 or 4 days, it's you. Because I literally wrote the book on podcasting, #1 bestseller called Podcastnomics, a book of podcasting to make you millions. We'll talk about that some more on a future episode. But my company, we have all the infrastructure in place when it comes to web design, web development, getting artwork in place, audio editing, show notes. I mean, we know what we're doing. And so they literally called me on a Thursday evening, like close to midnight. And Adam, here we are recording the next day on a Friday. And we're going to have the podcast up and ready in a matter of one business day. I mean, I've worked.
The one thing I will say is you have to working from home. Hours mean nothing. Because we were texting last night. You sent me this text last night at 10:24 p.m.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it was close to midnight on the East Coast.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. It's like when you're working from home, at least if you're a contractor, if you're awake, you're available.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no such thing as set out. There's no 9 to 5. We work around the clock. Yeah.
But to be fair, you texted me at 10:24. I hadn't been working since probably 3 p.m. So I'd had a solid 7 hours off before we got around to that text.
Yeah. And so look, my company, Krish Media Marketing, you and I, Adam, we've launched tens of podcasts for clients. And, surprisingly, some clients, it's taken 3 to 4 months to launch their podcast for various reasons. And here we are, we've launched this show in a matter of one business day. And it's because we've built up the infrastructure and the expertise over years of experience. We know what we're doing, and we know how to promote this. We know how to market it. And so we started this podcast because all of a sudden, I mean, I don't want to say overnight, but kind of overnight, people were just told, corporatists, employees were just told, hey, sorry, you can't come into the office starting Monday. You're going to have to start working from home. And you and I, we know how to work from home because to us, it's second nature. This is what we've been doing. But to, the employee in New York City and Chicago and Houston and Dallas, in DC, this is a brand new concept for them. This is a brand new concept for corporate America.
It's a brave new world.
Yep. And so anyway, we want to thank all of our listeners. This is our first episode, so we probably have like one of you. So we want to thank our one listener who's like,
thanks, Mom.
yeah. Thanks for tuning in. And we already have a website. I mean, how about that? We did this like I said, in one business day. So check out our website, www.workfromhomeshow.com. That's workfromhomeshow.com. Get on our mailing list there. If you get on our mailing list, you'll get a free copy of my #1 best-selling book, 50 Shades of Marketing: Whip Your Business into Shape and Dominate Your Competition. And if you just want to say hello to us, you found us, you started listening, you think that we can offer a lot of valuable insight, feel free to email us with your feedback. hello@workfromhomeshow.com. hello@workfromhomeshow.com. All right, Adam, that was an awesome first episode. For those listening, the second episode's already published, so you can just go straight into listening, and we'll see you there.
See you next time.